Thank you for taking this journey with us this afternoon. We hope that these stories have provided you with a different perspective. Hopefully these monologues have showed you that those with mental illness show a strength of will, not a weakness of will. Our last monologue tells of how a journey with mental illness can change you forever.
Ever since I came to college with a clear idea of who I wanted to be, my peers have always commented on how much they thought I had my life put together. And I don't blame them. On the outside, the only thing they've ever seen is a high GPA, a dean's list student, someone who's driven, successful, charismatic, and outgoing. But let me put together a real image of who I am. I've got a case of what your mother's generation calls the worry wart disease. And if that was something you could see like all those other things, you may not be marveling at how put together I am. Because what I have is general anxiety disorder. Although I didn't admit this to myself until just last year, I've been having anxious behaviors since I was a child. When I was a young girl, I remember many times my mother held me in her arms and rubbed my back with all the compassionate expertise of an experienced caretaker. But as she looked down on me, her eyes would crease with worry, and she would say over and over again, "If you worry this much, you'll make yourself sick." Throughout elementary school, middle school, and high school, I felt my world with a raw sensitivity that would often leave me feeling hopeless, and like I'd given too much of myself to everything. I'll be honest, I really hated myself. I hated being sensitive. I was upset easily, and I obsessively worried about things I shouldn't have worried about. But it was more than a sensitivity. It was a fear. A little dark light growing underneath me that made me constantly worry about how I was being perceived, whether my friends were mad at me or not, or whether my boyfriend at the time really, truly loved me or not. And then I learned about anxiety. And suddenly, everything made sense. It seems that when I grew up with my childhood asthma, the universe decided I needed a different type of tightness in my lungs. This tightness belonged to a shadow, named anxiety. You can't see it, but it's there, making it very hard to take a full breath. And unfortunately, the only inhalers I know that can temporarily fix this strain are antidepressants or self-harm. My gosh, it was such a relief to finally pinpoint what had been wrong this whole time. I thought that I'd won the battle. But little did I know it was going to get much worse from there. You want to know what it feels like? This shadow, it makes my limbs go numb. And when the panic begins to rise as predictable as a tide, I feel waves of warmth flooding to my forehead, as if the only way this feeling will escape is through hyperventilation and tears. My long list of to-dos makes my muscles clench, and no matter how much I try, I wake up every single morning and my body is tightly wound. I'm either constantly worried about what the future holds, or by this overwhelming feeling that something terribly wrong is happening. My roommate left for Quick Trip 5 minutes ago, and suddenly I had this overpowering feeling that she got in a car accident and died. I'm convinced that my leg hurts because a tumor is growing silently. I'm convinced that my friend is angry and will never forgive me. I'm convinced that this will be the last time I ever see my brother, so I hug him extra tight just in case. I'm convinced that my father will die at any moment, so I hug him every single day, just in case. I am convinced that I will always feel the need to plan for the what-ifs or the just-in-cases of my life. Those thoughts are like a little seed sprouting in my mind, and in those moments, anxiety feels like eternity. Anxiety is a shadow. It is my shadow, This subtle darkness I cannot grow out of, but instead I must grow with it. When every day is an uphill battle against your own mind, you have no other choice. So let me tell you how I did it, how I do it every single day of my life. Step 1, you must learn self-love. If you can't learn to adore yourself, to look at yourself in the mirror like your mother first looked upon you as a child, you will have nothing on your days of shadow. When that razor starts to sound like a good idea, when the hunger gurgling in your stomach seems like the only way that you can feel human today, you must fall back on the attributes you love, on the compassion, the kindness, the laughter. You will store them in your cheeks like little chipmunks, so that when the tears spill out, they will gather in a pool of confidence. You must self-implode. You must be selfish not in your actions, but in how you think about yourself. It is not beautiful to hate yourself. It is not healthy or fair either. Step 2, seek help. Talk about how you're feeling. Speak into me and think your tongue will fall out of your mouth. Ask questions, cry to your mate's shoulder. Spend the night in if you feel too anxious to leave the house. You need to tell people. You need to tell someone because anxiety and depression fester in silence. Like little cancerous cells, they grow secretly. And unless you seek help, it will never get better. Let go of the idea that it'll go away on its own. Frodo didn't take the ring to Mordor by himself. You also cannot fight this evil on your own. Tell your mother, though she may not understand, create a stronghold of people around you that are reliable and compassionate. Whether that's a counselor, a coworker, a friend, or a partner, these are the people that you need. Step 3. Your anxiety and depression will change how you see the world. So in turn, you must also change how you live in the world. If caffeine makes you anxious, give up coffee. If meditation helps the world feel a little lighter, then do it every single day. Stop living in denial. Let go of this idea that it will go away on its own. Give up. Give in to your anxiety by giving it the attention it so desperately needs. This is how you do it. This is how I do it. Self-love, support, and change are the cornerstones of someone who lives with a mental health disability. Anxiety is a shadow. But it is my shadow. Although you may not see it, this subtle darkness makes me who I am. Anxiety is both a gift and a curse.